Okay.
Oh, hi.
Good evening.
Quiet.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Marie Boyle, and I'm a member of the Goffstown Lions Club. Our president, Fred Fleck, couldn't be here tonight, so Elaine Emerton, one of the Lions, will lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our candidates tonight will give a 3-minute talk about themselves and about why they want to run for the particular office they signed up for. These talks will be timed with a 30-second warning. There's coffee over there. It's decaf, so it won't keep you awake. And please have some of it. And there's cookies. Please eat some of the cookies, too. Following all the talks, we'll have a short question and answer period from the audience. Only one person can speak at a time. This is not a debate. It's simply a presentation by the candidates so you can find out who they are and why they're running. This is being filmed by GTV, Goffstown's community television, and will be replayed several times between now and the election on March 13th. It is also being taped by Bill Wynne of GoffstownToday.com. This event is a community service of the Goffstown Lions Club, and if any of you are interested in finding out more about the Lions Club, please talk to any of the members here tonight, and there are several of us here. Okay? I think for a change, I'm going to start with the school candidates. But they always last, so this tonight they can do first.
That means I'm on first.
All right.
Are you prepared?
For the school board, for 3 years, our first candidate is Keith Alley.
Thank you very much, Maureen. Thank you to the Lions Club. Thanks to Hank, I understand he's the one that got all the nourishment in here for us. But I'm an incumbent on the school board. I've served for the last 9 years, 5 years as chairman of the school board. I've served in several community development committees. I've been an appointed member of the budget committee for several years, and I served on the zoning board for a little over a year as well. I was born and raised here in Goffstown. I'm a graduate of the Goffstown School District. I returned back to Goffstown in October of 2001. I have 3 children in the school district. I've been married to my wife Mary for 14 years. I have extended family in the community. And my schooling is, obviously I'm a graduate of Goffstown High School. I have my undergrad from UNH, and I have my MBA from Southern New Hampshire University. Being an active member for the last 9 years on the school board, I wish to continue to contribute to the community and be an advocate for providing quality education while controlling costs whenever possible. I'm proud to be part of a team that has provided the community with the 5th lowest cost per child in New Hampshire to educate. We're the 5th lowest in the cost of the average cost to educate a child. But at the same time, our children here in 11th grade on the kneecap scoring are scoring in the top 5 schools in the state. In every category, we scored somewhere between number 1 and number 5 this past year. So that's quite an accomplishment, I think, that our administrators are doing, our teachers, and our staff are doing. We also feel that because the board has been very active and has set some serious goals for the school district, we feel that's contributed as well. I understand, with the current economy, Goffstown is faced with rising costs of services while enduring fewer funds from the federal and state level. We've lost a lot of funding from both state and federal government, which exacerbates the problem that Goffstown is 92% dependent upon residential taxes. The growth we're seeing in our town continues to be residential, which brings more students into our community. The school district during these times and I've been a strong supporter of this, has presented budgets that have been bare bone the last few years and don't provide for any continual improvement in the quality of education. We've had to cut back on supplies, maintenance, and even staff in the last few years. This trend cannot continue indefinitely without sacrificing the educational quality being provided to our children. I respectfully ask that you allow me the opportunity to return to the Goffstown School Board to continue working to providing a quality education to our children while maintaining an appropriate and reasonable budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Our next candidate for the school board is William Bates.
Thank you, Marie. I go by Bill. I'll be on the ballot as William Bates, but I am running for school board this year. I have lived in Goffstown for 7 years, in New Hampshire for a little over 27 years. I currently work for Michael Baker Corporation, which is an engineering firm, and I'm running for school board really because I'd like to bring a fresh perspective to the way things are deliberated on the school board. I'm influenced, which is really what I want to share with you. I'm influenced by a number of things. First of all, my wife's an educator. She teaches kindergarten in Bedford. The second is my eldest son is an educator and assistant principal at a high school in another state. And also my youngest son will attend Glen Lake School beginning fall of 2012. And last and certainly not least, I'm a taxpayer. So I like to know that I'm getting good value for my money. And those are the things, those are the influences that I'll bring to the school board. I like to live within my means, but I also see the value of education in putting the children first. We also have to put the children and the taxpayers first. And what that means is you always keep the children's best interest in mind whenever you're making a business decision about spending money. But you also have to do that in the context that there are limits to what the taxpayers can afford each year. So it's not that you don't want to do what's best for children. You do, but you also have to balance that against the limitations of the taxpayer and the tax base. I think it's a credit, as the person before me said, I think it's a credit to the students, teachers, administration, and yes, the school board, that Goffstown has scored so well in the statewide tests while also maintaining a low spending rate. And that's to be commended, and we should also commend that. That is a quality of this town. I don't look at that as a drawback. That is a quality, is scoring near the top on statewide tests while also spending near the bottom. But we also have to deal with the current realities in town, and this is where I hope to bring a fresh perspective if you vote for me. And that, thank you. And that is that for the past 4 years, the taxpayers have spoken loud and clear. They've voted for default budgets. So it's not enough to say that we're going to try to propose budget X and then end up budget Y. We need to live within our means, but we have to spend smarter. If we're going to have to live on default budgets, we have to be more original and more creative on how we spend the money, spend smart, and yes, make tough decisions with the money we get, so we're getting the best value for the taxpayer while also giving our kids the best chances and getting the best possible education. So I hope you'll give me an opportunity to serve for you, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bill. Our next candidate is Dan Clutier.
Thank you, Marie, and for everyone who has come up tonight to hear all the candidates speak. My name is Dan Clutier. You'll see my name on the ballot is Daniel J. Clutier. I love that middle initial. Some community and personal information. I've served on a budget committee most recently, the last 9 years. I've been privileged to have been elected as the chairman for the last 7. I was a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment way back in 1985 and early 86. Back in 1980, I moved to Goffstown with my bride, who happened to be a Goffstown resident. We reared our 3 children in Goffstown, and we still live in the same house that we arrived here in Goffstown. I serve in various volunteer positions in my church and other charitable events. I've been a civil servant for the state of New Hampshire, 9.5 years in the state budget office, and 7.5 years as an assistant secretary of state. I own Alpha Omega Computer Specialist in Accounting Services, as my degree from now called Southern New Hampshire University is in MAS, which is called Management Advisory Services. It's a combination of both an accounting degree and back then they called it MIS. I was the chief financial officer of a local $1 million company. I was the director of computer operations for a local certified public accounting office. I have had, in the second year that I was on a budget committee back in 2004, I was appointed to the position of the school side subcommittee chairman. And at that time, I thought it was relevant, so I started attending all the school board meetings, which we hadn't done prior. Those attendance gave me a lot of insight, because when you look at meeting minutes and you read meeting minutes, you can get some of the topics that are discussed, but you really don't get the flavor and all the additional information. That was very important for me to get. It helped me analyze the budget requests when they came to us on the budget committee, and we were able to do a lot more with that. Now, as a member of the budget committee, I was elected to be an advocate for the taxpayer. You've probably heard me explain that my purpose was to begin with a review of costs and then see how we could meet what the governing body requested for their need. Thus, we started from the available funds, and then we found a balance between costs and services. In a committee of 16 members, it takes time, patience, to hear all the various ideas and comments on any particular issue. A steady, calm, and organized debate is advantageous to everyone. You may have heard me mention time and again that it is the process that keeps us organized, focused, and on topic. It's ideas that we should debate, not personalizing them, and it's okay to disagree, but not just be disagreeable. We should agree to disagree at that point and just move on. If elected to the school board, I would then be an advocate for the student. My primary motivation would be to understand, analyze, and determine the best course of action needed for the education of our students. Once that was understood, we, as a team at budget time, would need to review how to fund the need to create the manageable budget and then present it for debate. As a businessman, I'm over now? I will stop. Thank you.
Vote to Dan.
Thank you. I went longer than Bill Gates. That is incredible.
Thanks, Dan. The next candidate is Tony DeFranco. I don't think he's here. Oh, there he is.
Hiding in the back. First off, I'd like to thank the Lions Club for hosting the event. Thank you very much. My name is Anthony DeFranco. I usually go by Tony. Obviously, I'm running for school board. I've lived in town a little over 14 years. I've been married for 9 years to my lovely wife, Alyssa. We have one 7-year-old daughter, Chloe, who goes to the Maple Ave Elementary School. She's in 2nd grade. I'm a Navy veteran. I served 2 tours overseas, and that was right out of high school. Some of my spare time, I like to do some running, any outdoor sport. I do a lot of obstacle races. My current job, I do technical work and programming of life safety systems. But my current job takes me to a lot of schools throughout New England. Some of these schools, some are brand new, some of them are still under construction, some are in the middle of renovations, some actually really need some renovations. Others are simply just there, they've been there, and they're operating just fine. But one thing that I see a lot, and I hear a lot in interacting with superintendents, principals, office staff, teachers, maintenance men, is what's going on in the schools. It's really interesting how people can confide in somebody who's not attached to their school. I've learned so much about how a school operates, what people really want to see in their schools as opposed to what the community gives them. We need interaction between everybody in the school system, the superintendent, the school board, the teachers, the parents, and the general community. So it's going to be my goal to get everybody together to make sure that our schools are supported by the entire community. I'd like to combine all my years of experience in working through and with school districts to bring some of that information to Goffstown. My wife and I are very actively involved in our daughter's education. We both know that Goffstown is the right place for us to raise our daughter. I have a committed interest in the town, and I want to make sure that the school district is everything, again, that it can possibly be. I'd just like to make a difference in the way that it operates. There's always a way that we can improve ourselves and our district and our community. I'd like to make that happen. And lastly, I'd like to thank the other candidates for running, because I firmly believe that competition breeds creativity. So somebody may have a great idea. Just because it's somebody's idea and you don't like that person doesn't mean that you can't use that idea. We need to come together as a community and make things happen in our school district. Whether it be budget, purchasing things, the renovations that are being proposed in the community, we all need to come together and be aware of what's going on so we're voting with an informed decision and we make the right, common sense, smart decisions. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Our next candidate is Sarah Thompson Olesko.
Good evening, and thank you to the Goffstown Lions Club for this opportunity. My name is Sarah Tollefson-Ellico, and I grew up here in Goffstown, attending all the public schools here, and I even stayed here for my post-secondary education at St. Anselm College. I'm married to my husband Peter, and we have one son, Jude, who's 2.5. When my husband and I bought our home here 2 years ago, we talked about options for schooling, but we hadn't made any decisions. We had thought about public, private, and even homeschool. Over the past years, we decided that we will access the public schools in Goffstown. I've heard from many trusted people that the Goffstown School District does a fine job educating its students, and even more that they're doing it at a low cost. The school board, the school leadership and administration, and certainly the teachers in the district have something to be extremely proud of. I've worked for the past 12 years at the Moore Center, serving individuals with developmental disabilities and acquired brain injuries. My focus at the Moore Center is around employment, and I do a couple of different things. The first is I counsel people with disabilities to work to their fullest potential, whatever that may be, to give them financial independence and less reliance on state and federal benefits. I also work to bring new and innovative training programs for young adults that hold high expectations, to give them long-term independence in a work environment, and thus, less reliance on long-term supports, which in turn reduce the cost of their care significantly in the long term. I'm also currently finishing up a training with the Bureau of Education and Training to be a facilitator of Lean principles. If you haven't heard of Lean, it's a system of thinking and operation for any type of organization, including schools, to increase efficiency, eliminate waste, and add value. Some people refer to Lean as organized common sense. I'm running for school board because I feel it's my responsibility to serve my community. I'm creative and innovative. I'm able to find the best way to do things with the least amount of resources. I think objectively, and I'm able to hear all sides of an issue. Additionally, I'm able to communicate in ways that people understand. I want the residents of Goffstown to know the details of what's being discussed on the school board, and I want the residents of Goffstown to feel comfortable asking questions if you need to know more. You'll be able to do that with me. I will listen to you, and I will be clear and truthful with you when I respond. These are the schools of the residents of Goffstown. The proposals of the school boards are yours to decide upon, and therefore yours to be objectively informed about. When I hear what you are saying on the issues, I want you to trust that I will do my best to problem solve with what you have in your mind. Certainly, everyone cannot always be pleased at once, but I can certainly try. And if you are not pleased at any given time, I assure you I have a reason, and I will communicate it to you well. We are going through tough economic times right now. Many of us are making do with what we have. It is my experience that sometimes incredible things can be done with very little. I think our school district has proved that over the last few years. There are tough decisions for taxpayers in this town to make, and there are many considerations to weigh before making those decisions. These are your decisions to make. There is no doubt in my mind, or likely anyone else's, that the proposed budget and warrant articles will greatly benefit the students in Goffstown. But is that a priority in your family budget? Do you want to invest that kind of money right now, or would it be better for you to wait? Have you considered that the cost might be more later? These are questions we should all be asking ourselves, and whatever it is that you choose to vote for, I will be here to work with whatever it is that you've given me. So I thank you for your vote on March 13th. Thank you.
Sarah, I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name.
No, you did a great
It's
job.
Olesko.
You did really good. That's a hard one.
Next candidate is Ginny McKinnon.
I will apologize ahead of time. I'm not much of a speaker, so bear with me. I was born and raised in Goffstown. Went to school in Goffstown, as did my husband, my children, and now my grandson. I am a registered nurse. I specialize in pediatrics. I am a multiple-term school board member. I think it's over the past 20 years, 12 years on the school board. I'm an honorary member of the Goffstown Mothers Club, region of the New Boston chapters of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And I've been very busy volunteering in school and in community activities. I have been married to Mike for 35 years. We have 3 children. Aaron, Megan, and Patrick, and 2 grandchildren. When we were thinking of having children, my husband and I moved back here from Denver because we both grew up in Goffstown, and it's a wonderful place to grow up in. And we wanted our children to have that opportunity as well. I was raised to see the importance of education, and I believe the responsibility of a community is to provide that education. I have both the motivation and the dedication to serve our community in this capacity. I also know Goffstown well, having always been an active participant in community activities and having been educated here. I also have the experience to understand the complex state, local, and national education systems. I understand the system and have the background knowledge necessary to see what decisions have been effective and which ones have not. I am very aware of the budgetary problems relative to our current economic situation and the and the difficulty of providing an appropriate education with limited resources. We work hard for our money, and we would like it to be used in an appropriate way, just like any other taxpayer in Goffstown. Finally, I'm an open-minded person with the ability to take into account both sides of an opinion and to make an informed decision which is the best for our children and the community. I bring a different perspective to the school board that I've been told many times. Being a registered nurse, I do home care, and I work with children in their homes relative to the school activities that they do, and I also have brought many children to school as a nurse, and being in many different communities, seeing how different schools work, and seeing the other half of it where the parents are working at home with their children and where the special needs comes in. and how different teachers run their classrooms. So I have kind of a different way of looking at education.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Thanks, Jenny. Our next candidate is Alan Dutton. Alan emailed me yesterday and said he'd be flying in and he'll probably be late, so I told him he can talk when he gets here. All right, the next group is the school district moderator, and Jim Raymond could not make it tonight. The school district treasurer, Lissa Winrow, also couldn't make it. The school district clerk, is Joanne here? Hold on. I don't see it. Oh, okay. Joanne Duffy?
Thank you, Marie, and thanks for the Lions Club for sponsoring this. My name is Joanne Duffy. I have been a resident of Goffstown for the past 28 years. I've raised two daughters, Jessica and Andrea, who are now grown, and I also have a little granddaughter who's here tonight, Lily, who's 2.5. I've been employed by the town of Hooksett for the past 19 years. The last 5 years I've been the town planner. I'm presently completing my first term on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and I'm a former planning board member for the past 18 years and also served as the chairman. I'm also a member of Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, which is the regional planning commission representing the town of Goffstown, and I'm a member of the Metro Center, which is a regional economic development initiative of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce, and there I represent the town of Hooksett. Over the years, I've also served on the Master Plan Committee. I chaired the Capital Improvement Program Committee, and I served on 2 charter commissions. Currently, I'm running for 2 positions. I'm running for re-election to the school district clerk, which I'm standing here for now. I'm also running for re-election for the zoning board. So I thought I'd cover everything at once.
What do you want, 6 minutes?
That's okay. I was an active volunteer in the schools when my children attended. They went from 1st grade through 12th in Goffstown. I was also a substitute teacher for a short time at Maple Avenue Elementary School. Pretty soon, in the next year or so, my granddaughter Lily will be attending Goffstown schools as well. I've served as the school district clerk for the past 16 years. Originally, I volunteered when the former clerk resigned midterm. I have been elected to 5 consecutive terms since then. Basically, most people don't know what the school district clerk does. They prepare the ballot for the school district election. They take the minutes at the deliberative session meeting. They swear in the new board members, and they do some administrative work. 30 seconds. So I think I've done a really good job, and I'd appreciate your vote on March 13th. Thank you.
The next candidate, the school district clerk, is Marie Boyle, and I left my paper home.
Do that extemporaneously.
I did this really on the spur of the moment. I signed up on the spur of the moment. I wasn't even really sure what the school district clerk did. I found out since. I have been taking minutes for the town for a million years. And as far as the minute taking, I think I'm well qualified. Putting together the ballot, I've helped with that when I worked at town hall. And ask for your vote at the election. Thank you.
I protest. I didn't get a chance to cut you off.
All right, I'm going to go to the candidates for selectmen next. Collis Adams.
Good evening, folks. Thank you, Marie, and by the way, you don't look a year over 50,000 years.
Wow.
But I want to thank you, Marie, and to the Lions Club for hosting this important community event. As Marie said, my name's Collis Adams, and I'm running, and I use that word figuratively, for a seat on the Board of Selectmen. Now, granted, it's an uncontested race, but I felt it was important for me to attend here tonight so that folks here, and for those who may be watching on GTV, can put a face to a name when they go to the polls on March 13th. My priorities while providing service to the citizens of Goffstown will be simple: to assure that our government is open, strong, and responsive to the needs of our community. And I have pledged to do just that. I'm a 25-year resident of Goffstown, and I've served on many local boards and commissions, giving me wide and varied experience to put to good use while serving as selectman. So rather than urge you to vote for me tonight, I urge any resident who has a concern to contact me directly so that I can bring it before the full board for fair, consistent, and swift action. I'll leave you with my contact info, and it's simple. I'm listed as C.G. Adams in the Manchester phone book. The number is 384-1514. My email is equally simple. It's collis.adams@comcast.net. I eagerly await the opportunity to work hard for all of you. Please, thank you, and please make sure you get out and vote on March 13th.
Our next candidate for selectman is Mark LeMay. Mark had to be out of town tonight. He couldn't make it, but he did send me a little note to read for him. Hello, my name is Mark T. LeMay, and I am pleased to be able to represent the people of Goffstown. I have spent the last 20-plus years living in Goffstown with my wife Denise and children. We have grown to love this town, and in return, I feel it's time to give something back to the town. I've been looking and watching in the background, and I see some issues that we are all faced with as taxpayers. One is the constant raising of taxes. Taxes going up for families and no pay raises for families. We need to come to some sort of balance with this. For me, I will work with the town to try to solve these issues so the people of Goffstown can live here and afford the things we all want and need. Once again, your support will be very much appreciated on March 13th. Thank you, Mark LeMay. All right, and that's all the selectmen candidates. Next is the Budget Committee. First candidate, Guy Karen.
Thanks, Marie, and thanks to the Lions Club. My name is Guy Karen. I'm running for a second three-year term on the Budget Committee. I'm running pretty much for the same reason that I ran 3 years ago, is that, you know, back then I thought if I could get elected, I might make a difference, and I'd like to think that I have. You know, serving on the Budget Committee is pretty unique in that our job on the Budget Committee, our task, our charge really is to act as representatives of the will of the voters who elected us to represent their will. In Goffstown, in an SB2 town like we have, where we've chosen to go with a Budget Committee, and that's an option, by the way, the voters put us there because they want to elect the people to develop the budgets to do so on their behalf. We have to act as their advocates. So there's no room for personal agendas on a Budget Committee. There's no room for special interests. It doesn't matter what I think or what I'd like to see. My job is to listen to the voice of the taxpayer and execute their demands, basically. That's why they put me there. And if you look at the voting results over the last 3 years, I think the voice of the taxpayer is crystal clear. No new spending. Well, that's easy to say when we want, take for example, we want our trash and our recycle collected, but the cost of fuel is up. You can't cut that back because the taxpayers, they want the service. Those trucks are going to run on schedule regardless of weather, but the cost of the fuel is higher. So what do? You do what we all do. I don't know how many people here have gotten a raise in the last 3 years, or maybe even taken a pay cut, but we sharpen our pencils. We take our wives out to dinner once a month instead of once a week. We fix our cars and try to squeeze another 2-3 years out of them, rather than buy a new one because we haven't got the income to offset the increase in costs. It's been an honor and a privilege for me to serve the community and to serve the will of the people who elected me to do their bidding. And I'm hoping that I get a chance to do it again for another 3 years. And as such, I ask for your vote on March 13th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guy. Next candidate is Brian Fournier. I don't think he's here. He had emailed me and said he wasn't sure he'd be able to make it, so I guess he didn't. Next is Ruth Gage. Ruthie?
Thank you, Marie, and thank you to the Lions Club for having us all here tonight. I'm Ruth Gage, and I'm a candidate for a 3-year term on the Budget Committee. A little bit of my background, why I feel I'm qualified for the position. I've lived in Goffstown since 1953, so compared to some of you other people, I feel absolutely Asian up here tonight. But I came here as a junior high student, and went to Goffstown High School as well, graduating in 1959. I married Edward Gage, who was a native of town, and his family consisted of the Gages and the Shirley families who've lived here for generations. We had 3 children, Teresa, who works for the police department, James, who is a funeral director, and Mary, who works for a staffing agency and who is married to Michael Sullivan, the former captain of the police department. I have 4 grandchildren, 3 of whom have all graduated from Goffstown High School, and I'm proud to say went on to college. And my youngest grandson is now a freshman at Goffstown High. And then I have great-grandchildren and step-great-grandchildren and so on. All of my family lives in Goffstown, and that, to me, is a wonderful thing, especially nowadays when children marry and go on to their own lives, and so many of them move far away. I have all of my kids and my grandkids right here with me. I retired from working in 1998, and most of that time was to take care of my husband. Prior to that, I worked for the town for 12 years as the town accountant, as it was known back in those days, and got to do all of the municipal accounting. And then I went into the private sector after that. I was elected as a supervisor of the checklist and served for more than 22 years. I was also elected to the general court 4 times. And I have been a member of several different committees of the town, the Master Plan Committee, and I am currently a member of the Highway Safety Committee and the Historic District Commission. I've had other interests in town and in other committees over the years that I served on as well. I decided to run for the Budget Committee because I believe that I have the knowledge and I can be of help. And I want to pass responsible budgets for the town and school district. Times are tough. We've had to spend carefully, but at the same time, we mustn't go backwards. Both entities have many needs, and they should be explored using sound judgment. I think I can do that, and I ask for your vote on March 13th. Thank you.
Our next candidate for the Budget Committee is Brian Lewis.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you to the Lions Club. My name is Brian Lewis. I've been a resident of Goffstown for 12 years, owned a home, paid taxes for 12 years. Proud to say that this is one of the best communities I've ever lived in. Very proud to be a Goffstown resident. When people ask me where am I from, I say Goffstown with pride. I love the community activities we have. I love the school system, and I love the people. And I'm a current member of the Budget Committee. I was appointed, not elected, which means I ran for Budget Committee last year, or last year, and there was vacancies, and I decided to put my hat in the ring and serve. My eyes open up pretty wide, because I didn't realize how much went into it. I realized that a lot of time and effort on people's volunteer time goes to run this town. Going through the process of the budget, I learned that there's a lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of facets to the budget on the town side and the school side. And, you know, we were faced with some hard decisions to make on whether to go with some items that were recommended or not. And you always have to keep the taxpayer in mind, which I am a taxpayer. And if you look at, you know, how I voted, it was kind of down the middle. I don't feel like I lean all the way to the left or all the way to the right. You have to take each line item as you see it. I think each line item is different. So I asked myself, why the heck do I want to go through this process again? Because it is a lot of time. You know, we sat through Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to sometimes 11 o'clock at night. Now, who wants to do that? Who in their right mind? And I said, Brian, you know, and I'm the kind of guy, I'm like an average guy, but I'm also the kind of guy, like with sports, I'll go coach, just because who else is going to do it, you know? So with this thing, you know, I kept thinking about, well, who else is going to do it? You know, I went through the process, and I really think, you know, you can ask some of the members, I think that I had a pretty fair-minded approach to being on the Budget Committee. So, again, you know, why me, why not me? It's really up to the voters. I'm the average guy kind of perspective on the Budget Committee. No hinted agendas or anything like that. It was just, you know, and I actually learned a lot. And, you know, I look back and you almost kind of, after it's all over, you kind of miss it. It's kind of weird. It's kind of sick. Thank you. I got 30 seconds. You know, I really appreciate your vote, and I really appreciate, you know, listening to what I have to say. And that's about it. Thanks.
And our last candidate for the Budget Committee is Jeff Wall. Here he comes.
How's it going? Thank you. Hey, my name's Jeff Wall. Been here 8 years. Moved up, 8 years ago, actually. I'm ex-Air Force. Been around the world 3 or 4 times. Been to every state in the United States. Seen how all people live. You know, it's crazy. What pretty much galvanized me to do this is every year I get my escrow account bill, and that tax dollar goes up. I am very tired of it. Felt like I should get involved, see what's going on, see if I can help. I'm now currently the manager of Infinity Aviation's avionics department. I work on aircrafts, have a degree in aeronautics, deal with lots of money all the time, stick to a budget, hardcore, very conservative. Believe I can do the taxpayers here a bit of good. And sticking to a budget and keeping the taxes down, period. Nothing more really to say. It's up to the taxpayers. If they don't want to spend the money, let's not spend it. I have no other things to say. please vote for me. I really need your vote.
For 2-year terms for the Budget Committee, Carol Day, I haven't heard from her at all. I guess she's not here. And Peter Jordan just said he couldn't make it, he'd be out of town tonight. Richard Lee Sperry never answered me either, so. Joe Spurrow said he would not be here. Wow, that was quick. Joan Knesny said she won't make it. Library trustees, Kathleen Holt said she would be here. Oh, here she is.
Thank you, Marie, and thank you to the Lions Club. This is a great opportunity for me to be here because most of you do not know who I am. I have lived here for 17 years, and for me, that's a long time to live any place. My parents moved me around a lot. However, my in-laws have lived here for a very long time. My mother-in-law has only lived here for about 80 years. But my father-in-law was a Shirley from Shirley Hill, and he's George Dawson. My mother-in-law is Ori Dawson. My husband is Jim Dawson. He's lived here all his life. So for me to be here for 17 years is a great honor. I'm running for library trustee. It's the first time I've ever run for any political office, if you call library trustee political. I'm coming off 40 years in public education, teacher and now a school administrator. And I love education. To me, it's one of the greatest gifts that I have ever been the privilege of receiving. But after 40 years, I'm leaving that, and now I have a little bit of time on my hands. One of the things that we do in education for the first few years of a student's life is we teach children so that they learn to read. After that, we teach them to read to learn. And in that process, as they learn to do that reading bit so that they can learn, we encourage them to use the school library. And that library gives them a world that goes far beyond the classroom. That classroom gives them the opportunity to study what goes on there, and we help them learn so much more. And then you sit in this room where you are tonight, and I know the people listening on the public access television can't see that, but we are in a library. The library opens up worlds for everyone, and we open that world to the children from the time their mothers bring them to our public library. Most of them somewhere around 6 months to 2 years. And that continues on because our library opens that world up to them even when they are shut-ins. Our library does a great job of making that possible. But our library goes beyond that because it isn't just books. As you look around here, you will see far more than just books. It's a media center today. It is not just a library with books. We have Kindles, we have internet access, and that is something that makes a library much more than the books that many of us had when we were younger, when our parents put us in the pram and brought us to the libraries when we were little. Our school libraries do that, and our public library in Goffstown does that. I would like to make sure that that continues and that we continue to offer those services. Something else our library does is workshops open to the public. I have to say that one of the first ones that I went to was on the Muslim faith. I was amazed to learn so much more from that opportunity, and I hope that those will continue. Those continue with the support from the voters and from the work of our librarian who sought a grant to make that possible. I realize that being a library trustee may not seem like the biggest opportunity as a public servant, but I think it is one of the greatest opportunities. I am not interested in moving from one service to the budget committee or school board, but only in this opportunity. And I would like my public service, as I have a little more free time, to serve you and to serve your public library. Thank you.
Kathleen. Tess Martz said she would be here, but I haven't seen her. Didn't see her over there. Sneaked in.
I hope that means they won.
Good evening. Thanks for having all of us here. I'm Tess Martz. I've been in town a little over 30 years. In Goffstown, I'm a New Hampshire native and have a strong belief in the New Hampshire way of doing things. And for those of you who are from New Hampshire, that means the very old New Hampshire way of doing things. I've been a trustee with the library in different capacities for about 3 years. I've been active with the Friends of the Library since around 1991. And, I think it was the first stop I made in town when we moved here with 2 young kids and no money in our pockets. I have a belief in education from the cradle to the grave. As Kathleen said, the library provides that free of charge for everyone here, and it means a lot. I believe the library provides open access for research, for exploration, for access for what we need and what we want to divert ourselves from what we may or may not have or need. I believe the library provides a place for participatory community involvement, either as a board member, as a friend, or as a patron. I believe our library and any library is a vital component to a community. I see it as a local Statue of Liberty. It's open to all. You don't have to find a babysitter. You don't have to worry whether or not it's appropriate for your aging mom. You don't have to empty your pockets to enter the doorways. Goffstown Library began as a gift. The building, and Diane has to correct me, I think the collection started through tremendous foresight and incredible generosity by the Parker family, well over 100 years ago. I'm not sure how many. Many. It was entrusted to the community to protect those assets. That is the role of the trustees. It was also entrusted to us to grow that commensurate with the community. We have done the best, this Board of Trustees and every board prior, to do that. We have a challenge ahead of us. The library is 100 years old with only, I think, 1 facelift in all that time. We all know it's bursting at the seams. We aren't ready to do anything about that right now, but we have to be looking for it and planning for it. I think our staff is exceptional. I think the service this library provides right now is on the level of rock stars. For what Diane and the staff do with the budget and the space constraints is remarkable. I would encourage you to vote for every library trustee on the ballot. I would love to be there. If I'm not there in that capacity, I will still be at the library. And please come to the library. More importantly, think about giving to the library. Thank you.
The next library trustees for a year, George Collins said he couldn't make it tonight. Linda Stoner, is Linda here? I'm here. Is here.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight and to introduce myself. I am running for the one-year position of library trustee, and let me tell you why I'm doing that. I'm doing that because I just believe so strongly in reading and books, and I know what they've brought into my life. And I didn't really like to read until I was a young adult, and I discovered the fever from a friend, and have enjoyed the opportunity to pass that love of books along to 4 grandchildren that initially hated to read in school. And now they love to read, and it's opened up a whole new world for them. Originally, I grew up in northern New Hampshire. I'm a New Hampshireite, and I grew up on a dairy farm up in Colebrook. And my mother was the librarian there. And so she sort of passed along some of that love for libraries. And you know, they built a new library there a few years ago, and it's a small town. It's a town of 2,500 people. And she was able to get help from the Ethan Allen factory for the bookshelves, and she still needed carpeting after all the donations were in. And so she sold squares on a piece of paper and raised the money for carpeting in the library. And I like that approach. I think our library here is great. It has a great staff. But I think that it is bursting at the seams. And there's a real need to grow the library in terms of space, in terms of the number of books and resources that it can offer, and that can only be done with some creative financing. And I think it's time. I think Goffstown deserves a far better library than it has. Not that it's not a great place now, don't misunderstand me, but there are ways to expand that library, and I think that's important for this community. It's a very small library if you look at the size of the community that it serves. So I would hope that I can offer some new ideas. I would hope that I can bring some excitement to the table. I'm a pretty direct person, so I tend to say it the way it is. I hope I've learned to be somewhat tactful and circumspect at times, but 30 seconds, my goodness. My father told me that I talk too much. But anyway, I would like an opportunity to serve as a trustee for the library, and I hope I have your vote, and thank you for letting me be here tonight.
Thank you, Linda. Next are the candidates for the planning board. Steve Dutton.
Hi, my name is Steve Dutton, and I'm running for planning board. My wife, Emily, and I settled in Goffstown 6 years ago, and we're proud to call it our home. I volunteered as an alternate to the planning board for the past 4 years, and I'm now running for planning board because I want to help ensure that Goffstown, as it grows, remains the kind of town that all of us can be proud to call home. 4 years ago, I volunteered as an alternate to the planning board because I wanted to be involved in and to give back to my community. I was drawn to the planning board in particular because it seemed like a good arena in which I could use my background and experience as a lawyer to perform a civic responsibility for the town. I think that my 4 years as an alternate on the planning board have provided me with a valuable experience, insight, and knowledge. I am keenly aware of the important role that the planning board plays in Goffstown, and I'm also aware of the factors that impact decisions that the board makes. Further, I recognize the importance of having a board which consists of members who hear proponents on all sides and think critically and rationally about all proposals before deciding on them. I enjoy serving on the board as an alternate because I think of myself as a problem solver and a rational thinker, and these are the skills that carry me through my professional life. And these are the skills that I currently apply and will continue to apply to the planning board. In conclusion, as I sit as an alternate on Thursday evenings in the planning board, I bring with me commitment, experience, and insight, and rationality. Once elected, I will not lose these skills, but will continue to enhance them and use them to the benefit of the town. I thank you for your attention this evening and appreciate your consideration.
Thanks, Steve. Our next candidate for the planning board is Brian Hanson.
My name is Brian Hanson, and I would like to serve on the planning board. My wife and I have lived here in Goffstown for 12 years, and I have 3 beautiful children. Just as I'm concerned about their future, I'm concerned about the future of Goffstown as well. And in both situations, I'm fantastically optimistic because the future is made in the now. And in both situations, I'm 100% sure that great things are going to happen, as long as I work hard to make it so. And I promise to do so on the planning board. I'm generally pro-business. That doesn't mean that I think that we should build a Home Depot on Mast Road or anything like that. But since the property tax rates are high, it occurs to me that one of the things that could defray some of the tax costs that we all share are more businesses in this town. And I would like to try to make decisions for this town that will promote entrepreneurialism and the growth of small businesses. Because this town is at a crossroads with the growth of I-93. Population projections for this town show that it's going to grow quite a bit. We're at the crossroads making some good decisions that are going to affect us for a very long time. And I think that if we make smart, scalable decisions without selling the soul of, or selling out this beautiful New Hampshire, New England town that we have, I think things are going to go on to be fabulous, and I'd like to be part of that. Please vote for Brian Hanson for the planning board, and thank you so much.
The next candidate is Richard Meany. There he is.
I want to thank the voters who are tuning in to watch this, and especially the voters who have waited to see the planning board as the highlight of the evening. My name is Richard Meany. I am running for planning board. I am currently on the Conservation Commission and the Budget Committee. My wife and I live on Page Hill Road. We have 2 children who are students at Goffstown High School, and the youngest is a student at Maple Avenue. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Army. And the reason I'm here to ask for your vote for planning board is I recognize the significant disparity between the taxes paid by residential property owners, homeowners, and businesses. 92% of the taxes collected for property in Goffstown come from homeowners, about 8% from businesses. I'd like to see those numbers shift so that residential property owners don't have to pay as much. Now, how do we do that? Goffstown has all kinds of planning and zoning ordinances, and many times businesses bring forth plans which meet all of those planning and zoning ordinances. Yet the planning board doesn't say yes. The planning board asks questions, sends the businesses back to the drawing board, says do more work. And that means the businesses are going to have to spend more money to do that work. So oftentimes, what do? They say, no thanks. I'll go to Bedford. I'll go to Hooksett. I'd like to be a person on the planning board who votes yes when a business wants to come to Goffstown. I want to vote yes when a business wants to grow. I want to be on a planning board that helps hang out the sign that says Goffstown is open for business. It's that simple. On March 13th, when you go to vote, I ask that you vote for Richard Meany for planning board, and I'm the 4th person listed on the ballot. Thank you.
Our last candidate is Alan Yetton, who isn't here yet, but promised he'd be here as soon as he could. Jim Bouchard, the sewer commission, couldn't make it. Tina Daniels, I never heard back from her. Al DeRusso, supervisor of the checklist. I saw Al. There he is.
Thank you, Marie, and thanks to the Lions Club. My name's Al DeRusso. I'm running for supervisor at checklist for a 4-year term to fulfill replacing Sue Tremblay, who had to resign because of various reasons. And I've served the community in many capacities. I've been a member, I've been a coach at Goffstown Junior Baseball, the board of director, also a past president. I've also served the town in various capacities as on a zoning board of adjustment, back with Dan many years, many moons ago, I should say. I've served on the budget committee, the charter commission, and I'm currently the chairman of Economic Development Council. I'm also, it's not, trying to explain why you run for a supervisor checklist is really difficult. And I was really worried when I saw the amount of cars outside tonight. They're really the other way too. But basically, there's been some new changes in the supervisor checklist through the state. I have some experience and database background, and I'm hoping that I can use that to try to make the experience for those that are voting and in the counting process a lot smoother and more friendly. So that's basically the reason why I'm running to help the town out as much as I can. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next, town moderator, Rod Stark, and he never got back to me. And trustee of the trust funds, Joseph Dabrowski, never got back to me. The last one is zoning board of adjustment, Joanne. Come on up again. No.
Are you kidding? I'll be quick. Hi, I'm Joan Duffy. I'm running for re-election for Zoning Board of Adjustment. I'm a 28-year resident of the town. I'm a mother and grandmother. I've worked in community development for the past 19 years for the town of Hooksett. I served on the planning board for 18 years, 2 charter commissions, the Capital Improvements Committee. I'm one of Goffstown's representatives to Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, and I'm also on the Metro Center Committee as a board member. I'm just completing my first term as a zoning board member, my first 3-year term. As a town planner and a former planning board member, I believe my expertise is an asset when it comes to making important decisions on the zoning board that could have a great effect on our community. I am very up to date on all of the land use laws and the new procedures that come into play each year. Those things seem to change. I'm very familiar with Goffstown's zoning ordinance and any changes that have taken place over the years. I've been around for most of it, so I'd appreciate your vote on March 13th. Thank you.
And guess who just came in? Alan Yetten. Alan is running for the school board, and he's also running for the planning board. Huh? Sure. You go, Alan.
Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.
Outstanding. Thank you. I'm glad I made it here this evening. My name is Alan Yeaton. I live at 2 Hillcrest Road with my wife Carol. Where I left this morning was 71 degrees. It's now snowing outside. So the airplane was a little bit late getting in this evening from Birmingham. But anyways, I'm going to represent the town and its voters at both the planning board, where I currently am the chairman. Been on the planning board for the last 6 years. I think my professional expertise stands for itself as an architect and a planner professionally. And I like to use my expertise in seeing that the town develops in an organized and a sequential kind of manner, and that the obligations that the town voters have made through its adoption of zoning and planning regulations are fairly interpreted through the applicants that wish to build and develop and live here in our community. That being said, my real crux is my running for the school board here in Goffstown. I have two grown children that have successfully completed high school and college and are on their own careers. My wife and I have two additional sons who are currently a freshman at the Goffstown High School and a 7th grader at Mountain View. In terms of education in this community, I think is critical. I've seen the education my oldest son and daughter got and saw how important it was to them and to the development and to the fact that the state of the education means the state of our United States in the future, because it's going to rely on the education we give our kids. I know when I was young, I was fortunate to have a great education. It's been great for me. As far as being in the community, my expertise in building and construction can well serve the school district in the future. I don't think I would micromanage any aspects of operations in the school department. I have obviously some specialized interest, one of them being extracurricular activities for students and how important it is to them in terms of their development, both personally and respect for other things in the community, which I think is very important. Right now, my two sons are supposedly doing homework. They're seeing it at home while I'm here. I will check it when I get home. I generally do homework with the two boys. Some of the things I need to re-educate myself about because some of the math is not above me, but I've been away from it for so long that I've forgotten it. So I want to become involved in education again, and I think this, through my talents and through my past experiences, I can assist the community in keeping the education that's qualified and is best qualified in a continuing fashion for the future of this town. I'll answer any questions anybody has. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the candidates. Does anybody have any questions for any of the candidates? Hi, Jason.
Is there a microphone?
No, just.
Okay. Hi, Jason Sachs. I have a question for the planning board candidates. On mixed-use development, we had a zoning ordinance change about, I guess, 6 or 7 years ago that allows mixed development in our commercial zone. So residential can be part of a combined residential commercial development. And I guess I'm concerned that the town is making sacrifices to bring in commercial industrial land, which I support, but then letting part of it go towards mixed-use development. And I guess I'd like to hear what you think in general terms about what's appropriate for our town in mixed-use development. Thanks.
Steve?
Hi, Jason. That's a good question. I know that you're often present at planning board meetings and you always offer good insight, so I thought I'd take an opportunity to thank you for that. In terms of mixed-use developments and the zoning ordinance, I wasn't present on the board when that was passed, so I can't really speak to some of the debate or reasoning behind it, but I do think it can play an important role in the right places in town. So I think each application deserves its own consideration, but there's certainly a place and a time for mixed-use development, and I think it does add to the town's growth in a positive way.
Brian?
In my opinion, flexibility in zoning regulations is critical. For instance, in the Mill Yard in Manchester, they have very flexible, zoning regulations, and it allowed them to not only turn some of those units into residential units, but commercial units as well. And as we move forward, certainly it would be nice to have more commercial development in the town. However, to have the mixed use gives the option of building residential units as well, and certainly more people in the town more people in the town adding to, going to stores and going to restaurants, certainly is a tide that sort of raises all boats. As long as people spend their money in town, a mixed-use development is a useful thing to bring residential units into the town.
Thanks, Brian. Richard Meany?
The mixed-use development, residents, businesses together, that's what Goffstown already is. Goffstown is characterized by people living, in many cases, close to where they work or close to where they shop. And to me, a free market dictates that someone will choose, a developer will choose to put a business in or to build homes based upon what will be best for the town, what will be best for profit, what will be best for the residents. So I'm in favor of mixed-use development, and I'm not in favor of the town dictating what has to be put in certain locations. Thank you.
And Alan?
Mixed-use development, always a hot topic, especially in Goffstown. Very prevalent in New Hampshire. And as chairman of the planning board, mixed-use development was put into our master plan back in the year 1999. It's been modified a couple times since then, but it's also in our zoning ordinance. And it's been only used once. And that's on Mass Road, where the Rite Aid is and where there's some housing behind the Rite Aid. That's the only instance in the last 6 years where that mixed-use development has been proposed and was approved by the planning board. It is an element in the planning board that can be used for the development in Goffstown. It's delegated to certain zones in town. It's not like allowed in the agricultural zone, some other areas of the community. It's subject to change and modification as it's tried and proved by the members of the board over the years as something like that is tried and tested. It's always been a concern of the school board in that mixed-use developments have an opportunity to increase students where we really don't need them in our schools right now. And that is Bartlett School. Because that's where the zone is primarily for mixed-use development. So there are some pros and there's some cons. The planning board, the elected planning board, are the adjudicators of the ordinance, meaning we try to implement that ordinance as we interpret it. So it is allowed. I am in agreement to it. And the next time somebody proposes it, hopefully it'll be in a dense area of town. I suspect it would be in the center of town, and it will be in Pinardville primarily. But we'll have to wait and see. But it is a tool used by the planning board to govern the development here in our community, and it's actually worked well. Although our experience with the first one, and it may have to be modified in the future, has put more than the anticipated number of students in our elementary schools. And I think, as a member of the school board, I'd like to see how we can make that work better for our community. Thank you.
Any other questions? Gordon?
For the library trustees, how can we better serve Pinardville with our library?
Can you come up here, please, because the camera's pointed up here. Thank you.
This is a general question to the library trustees. How can we better serve Pinardville with the library being where it is? I know at one time we had a bookmobile we sent down there, but that was a long time ago.
Hi, Kathleen.
I've only been here 17 years, but I do recall that there was an extension of the library at the Bartlett School. I understand there's also been a bookmobile tried. Unfortunately, the difficulties of having a single library in any town, and Goffstown, square miles size-wise, is not even that large of a town. There are a lot bigger towns than Goffstown. I think the difficulties are not so much for the adult population, but for those who are going to have to load a bunch of little children or the elderly getting to Goffstown. I believe our library does a great job of getting books to people who need to get books, and I believe that we do need to make an effort to reach out, but if you're going to have a single building, you're going to have the difficulties of not being able to serve everyone in every corner of the community, and that is the hard part. Our library does meet the needs of the population as best it can with a single facility, and the fact that there is the internet and the great job that I've seen of being able to access the library through the internet, that is the newest method that I think can be used at this point.
Thank you. Tess?
Thank you for that question, and that is one of the biggest struggles Goffstown has. As Kathleen mentioned, we are a single facility building. We have had a branch in different areas of Pinardville in the past. Currently, the librarians have I think they do it on a rotating basis to pick up books that are put in a drop box for returns from the Pinardville Fire Station. It may be just one staff member, I'm not sure. So we have a way to get the materials back, but it isn't very accessible for people who are up in Pinardville where there's a population density. It's not easily accessible for people who are up in Grasmere or up on the mountain. It's one of the biggest challenges Goffstown has is that we are a large footprint. We have a river that runs right in the middle of us, and it's not easy to get from point A to point B. Until we deal with facility expansion and an increased budget for different kinds of services, we won't be able to address it any better than we do now. Right now, I think it's part of what the staff does above and beyond by at least doing book retrieval. The library, on many circumstances, will do specific home delivery for people who are incapacitated to get to the facility. But we don't have a good answer for that right now. However, with very generous donations, anybody in Pinardville that wants to donate some property in a facility, please come talk to us.
Linda?
Yes, big checks. I said it first.
They can thank me for keeping us another hour.
Thank you for the question. I will tell you that as a possible new trustee, I can't answer that question. But I can realize that Pinardville seems like a separate little community, not always connected to Goffstown because, you know, I live here. And so I see that. A lot of what you would like to see is going to be budget driven. That's a reality. And the only way we can impact that is through either a fundraising campaign or donations. That's where Goffstown is going to be able to expand its library and its services. But in the meantime, I think with a new group of people, there are new ideas, brainstorming happens, and who knows what we'll come up with for ideas to involve the people in Pinardville, to make programs, to create programs in Pinardville, perhaps, at a location, at a different location. There's all kinds of possibilities, and I think that with new people, new ideas come along. That's the best I can answer it at this point, but I promise you I will consider that and look for answers.
Marie?
Jenny?
I'm not a candidate, but I do know the principal of Bartlett School during the summer opens up the library at their school several hours a day for their week that's
Would
Monday
you
through
come up here and
Friday.
talk, because the camera can't see you
Okay.
over there.
Just an FYI, the principal at Bartlett School does open their school library several hours a day, several days a week during the summer. And he does allow moms to come in with their kiddos and take books out and use the library in that capacity in the summer, just so that, so that might be something that could be worked on and kind of partnership.
Any other questions?